Okay, in this video we are going to look at how to find the slope from tables and graphs and the y-intercept from tables and graphs. So we're going to begin with graphs. And just a reminder that slope is the measurement of the steepness of my line. We measure it by finding the rise over the run. We also refer to this as change in y over change in x, or it's the difference in my y values, my second y minus my first y, and my x values, my second y minus my first y. I mean my second x minus my first x. So first, we should always do this, find the rise and the run between 2 points of a line. So I prefer to start with the line that is, or the point that is furthest left on my line. And then I find the next point on my line, and this is where I find my rise and run. Now I want to always make sure I pay attention to the scale of my graph. So notice that this graph is going up by 2s. So I need to make sure when I count my rise and run that I count by 2s. So this rise is 4, 2, 4, and the run is 2. I always want to verify that my slope is correct. So again, I'm going to find the rise and the run from to the next point. 4 and 2. And now I can write this as my rise and my run and find my slope. So 4 over 2 gives me 2. So my slope is 2. Now I need to find the y-intercept of my line. So the y-intercept is where my line crosses the y-axis. So we're going to find that point. We use the letter B to label or for the y-intercept. And it is where x is 0. So in this case, my y value where x is 0 is 4. So my y-intercepts can be found at 0 and 4. So my b value is just 4. Okay, so looking at our next graph, I'd like for you to pause the video and try it for yourself, and then come back to the video to check. Okay, so I'm going to make 2 points of my line, again starting from the point furthest to the left, and I automatically notice that this time my line is not going up from left to right, but it's actually going down. So I already know that my slope is going to be negative. So I'm going to make 2 points on my line. I'm going to find the rise, and then I'm going to find the run. So my rise, and this time my graph is just going by ones. So my rise is 2, but I know it's decreasing, so I'm going to write that as minus 2. And my run is 1. So I'm going to write this as negative 2 over 1, which simplifies to negative 2. So I can say my slope is negative 2. I'm going to verify that answer. So I'm going to make one more point on my line, make sure that my rise and run is the same. My rise, again, is negative 2, and my run is 1. So now my y-intercept, I'm going to find where my line is crossing my y-axis. So b equals 2, because my y-intercept is located at 0, 2. X is 0, y is 2. Okay, so now we are going to look at how to find slope from a table and a graph. So let's start with slope and y-intercept from a table. Now let's start with slope, something that we're already familiar with. So change in y over change in x is how we find the slope of a table. So we're going to begin with change in my y and then find the change in my x. So something I do want to point out is notice that my x values are going up by 1 at first, but then we jump by going up by 5. So my inputs are not going up by a consistent amount, but that's okay. You can still find the slope. We just need any 2 points to find our slope. So I'm going to pick 2 points. So I'm going to pick the first one and then I'll check with another one. So my rise from -13 to -9, so I'm climbing out of the hole, is +4. And my change in my x value from -2 to -1 is +1. So to write that as change in y over change in x, I have 4 over 1. I'm going to verify my answer with another point. So I'm going to find the change in my y value here from -5 to 15. It's increasing by 20. And the change in my x value, it's increasing by 5. So 20 over 5. If I simplify both of these, they equal 4. So my slope is 4. Now my slope is the thing that I am multiplying by. So if you remember the equation we wrote when we were dealing with slope, y equals mx plus b. My slope is the m. Okay, so it's the number that I'm multiplying by, and my b is the number that I am adding. So I'm already partially there with my process. And sometimes we need the process to find our y-intercept, but sometimes we don't. Like in this case, I don't really need my process because I know my y-intercept is wherever x equals 0. So right here, that's really easy to see. So my y-intercept is 0, -5, so I can say my b is negative. I can check my process though. So that means if I plug in y equals 4, whatever my x value is, times 5, and then my b value is -5, so I'm going to do -5. So 4 times 5 is 20. 20 minus 5 is 15, which gives me my output here. Okay, so let's look at a table where we can't see our y-intercept so easily. So our slope's going to be really important here. So I'm going to find the change in my y, and then the x. So the change in my y is 8, and the change in my x is 2. So 8 over 2 gives me my slope. And so my slope is 4. So again, I know y equals mx plus b is my process. So I can begin my process by using my slope. So I can say 4 for my m times my x value, 3. And then I know I need to add something to get to here. So 4 times 3 is 12. What do I need to add to get to 14? Well, that would be 2. So my y-intercept must be 2. I can double check my process by coming down to my next point. 4 times 5 plus 2 would give me 22. 4 times 10 plus 2 would give me 42. And 4 times 12 plus 2 would give me 15. So that means my b value is right here, the number I'm adding on each time. So b or my 0.02. X is 0, y is 2. Okay, so I'd like for you to pause the video and try this third table, and when you're ready, come back and check your work. Okay, so let's check what we did here. So let's start by finding our slope. So I should see that my change in y is 6, and my change in x is 2. 6 over 2 equals 3, so m equals 3. So this is my slope. And now I need to find my y-intercept. So I didn't include a process table for you since you're probably working on your own, but you can use any point to help you with your process. So I know my slope is 3, and now I'm going to use y equals mx plus b. So I'm going to use this 1 and 13. So I'm plugging 1 in to my x, and I'm plugging 3 in to my m. So I have 3 times 1, which is 3, and I need to get to 13. What do I need to add to 3 to get to 13? Well, I need to add 10. I'm going to double check with the next line. So again, 3 is my slope times my x value of 3. 3 times 3 is 9, and I need to get to 19. So I'm going to add 10 to get to 19. So that means my y-intercept is 10. Or again, our point 0, 10. Okay, so your job at this point is to go ahead and complete the guided practice, but feel free to go back and watch the video if you need to watch it again to see and understand how to find the slope and the y-intercept from a table.